Okay, you've seen the headlines, right? The battle over AI in music is getting heated. On one side, you've got artists who feel like their very identity and livelihood are under attack. And on the other, you have AI developers who are promising this incredible new age of creativity for everyone. It's always framed as this big, dramatic war. But what if that's the wrong way to look at it? What if this whole conflict is actually a sign of something much, much deeper?
So, this is the classic setup, right? This is the conflict we hear about all the time. Artists are frankly terrified. They're worried about identity theft, about their life's work being completely devalued, and about losing their ability to make a living. But then you've got the developers, and they're pushing back with all this optimism, talking about democratizing access to making music, unlocking innovation, and lowering the barriers for absolutely everyone. It really feels like an old school standoff between protection and progress.
But is that really the whole story? Is this just a fight where one side has to win and the other has to lose? Or is all this friction, all this heat, actually pointing to a massive shift in how we even think about what creativity is? Well, the thinking here is that this isn't just about a new tool. It's not just a new synthesizer or a new piece of software. Nope, this is a fundamental clash of worldviews. We have these very old, baked-in ideas about authorship and ownership, and they are colliding head-on with a technological reality that they were never designed to handle. Okay, so to really get this, we've got to understand that there are actually three different belief systems all fighting for control at the same time. First, you have the modern IP view, the idea that creation is the work of one person and they deserve to own it. Second, there's the tech expansionist view, which sees all of culture as just data patterns to be copied and remixed. And then there's this third emerging idea, a systemic view, that sees creativity as this super complex collaborative process. The chaos we're all feeling right now, it's because our laws are built on that first worldview while the technology is being driven by the second.
So let's start with the one we all know, the one that built the entire music industry as we know it today. Let's talk about the modern IP logic.
At its heart, this worldview is pretty simple. It says that a creative work comes from a specific person, and their originality, their labor, that justifies their legal ownership. That's what copyright is all about. So from this perspective, when an AI company trains its model on copyrighted music without permission, that's not just unfair, it's a direct violation of property rights. End of story.
Okay, now let's flip the coin and look at the philosophy that's actually driving the technology itself. This is the tech expansionist worldview. From this perspective, all of human culture, music, art, books, you name it, is just a massive collection of patterns. They argue that an AI learns from all this data in a way that's pretty similar to how a human artist learns from all their influences. So, when you look at it that way, trying to restrict access to data is just holding back progress. It's seen as an obstacle that prevents the democratization of creativity for everyone. So, if those are the two opposite poles of the argument, what's the third way? This is where the systemic or integrative worldview comes in, and it basically suggests that we need a much bigger frame to solve this whole problem. This view argues that creativity is never just one thing. It's not purely the work of a lone genius, and it's not purely a computational process. It acknowledges that, yeah, every artist learns from the people who came before them, and that the tools we use, whether it's a guitar or an AI, absolutely shape what we create. But, and this is crucial, it also says we can't ignore the real-world economic impacts and power imbalances. The problem isn't the tech. The real problem is that our old laws from Worldview 1 are completely unequipped to deal with it. So to move forward, this third worldview says we have to first scrap our old kind of romantic definition of authorship. You know the one I'm talking about, a single person in a room having a eureka moment and creating something totally new out of thin air. This new model completely reframes authorship. It sees it not as a single act, but as a distributed process, a team sport. It argues that all of these people are part of creating something. From the cultural styles we all inherit, to the artists whose work actually trained the AI, the engineers who built the thing, the user typing in the prompt, the human producer who shapes and refines the output, and yeah, even the audience who gives the work its final meaning. Suddenly, authorship is a group project. So if we accept this new model, it means everyone has a new set of responsibilities. It's a whole new job description for everybody involved. Let's start with the tech companies, the ones actually building these platforms. For developers, the days of saying, hey, we just make the tools are over. They have to accept that they're shaping the entire creative ecosystem. That means being transparent about their training data. It means creating licensing systems to actually pay the artists whose work they used. And it means building in real protections against malicious voice cloning and identity theft.
All right, what about the people actually using these tools?
from the person just having fun with it to the professional using it for a project.
For users, it means recognizing that typing a prompt is a form of direction, but it's not always the same as the deep, layered work of traditional authorship. It requires being honest and transparent about using AI. And this part's really important. It means understanding that just because a tool is legal to use, that doesn't magically resolve all the ethical questions about how that tool was built.
And, of course, the big one. What does this new framework demand from the artists and rights holders who are right at the center of this store?
This new model calls for musicians to evolve. Of course, they have to keep championing the unique, incredible value of human experience in art. But they also have to accept that no creation, none, happens in a total vacuum. The real call to action here is to shift from a purely defensive stance to one of constructive engagement, to become architects of the new licensing and protection systems rather than just being opponents of the tech.
And finally, what about the mediators, the Spotifys and the Bandcamps of the world who bring all this music to our ears? They're in a crucial spot. They have to become the rule setters, the ones who bring clarity to a pretty chaotic space. They need to create clear, standardized labels for AI-assisted music so we all know what we're listening to. It also means not just treating all AI music as spam, and making sure that if laws were broken way back when the AI was being trained, the liability falls on the developers, not on the everyday user who is acting in good faith.
So when you put all of this together, you see a fundamental redefinition of the human role in creativity. We're moving away from being the sole, exclusive source of creation to something more like an ethical steward, a curator, the one who integrates all these different pieces and gives the final product its human meaning.
So, to build a future that actually works, the source here proposes this 4-part blueprint. We need accountability from the developers. We need fair compensation for the artists whose data is being used. We need real protection against identity theft. And we need legal clarity on what level of human input actually earns a copyright. Ultimately, the argument isn't about stopping progress. It's about guiding it. As the author of our source material puts it, the future can't be held back, but it absolutely can be shaped. And that shaping requires everyone involved to work together with responsibility and a clear sense of purpose.
And that leaves us with this final thought. The real challenge here isn't about one side winning and the other losing. It's about whether we can all, collectively, build a bigger, more inclusive framework for creativity itself. The only question left is, what role will each of us play in building it?